He absolutely deserves an A+ in my opinion because of the gap. It was over 100 points, yet he managed to close it down to two, and that is incredible. Like even though he missed out on the World Championship, it was a performance of a world champion, and it goes to show that Max Verstappen is one of the best drivers we've ever seen in Formula One. It is not going to change just because he isn't world champion anymore. He is a four-time world champion for a reason. He is incredible. He is very fast. He is so smart in a car. Sometimes he's an idiot. See the Spanish Grand Prix. But aside from when Max gets very angry in the car, he is incredibly fast and has won so many of these races in the last half of the season. He won in Italy and Azerbaijan and Kota and Vegas and Qatar and Abu Dhabi. And I don't think there's much more you could have asked from Max Verstappen this season. Sure, that start of the season wasn't brilliant, but honestly, that Red Bull wasn't brilliant. It was the fourth, it was the third, so at a push, sometimes fastest car on the grid. Yet he was still getting the podiums. That first race in Australia, where he was absolutely scrapping it out with both of the McLarens, did get very fortunate with what happened with Oscar. But to keep going and keep pushing, and nobody when we were doing our mid-season driver grades would have thought, yeah, Max is gonna probably almost win the championship this year. We would have been, no way. How? Like, what are you talking about? Of course it's gonna be Oscar. Of course it's gonna be Lando who's gonna win the championship. It takes someone special to do what he did, and I will never take that away from him. It was incredible.
Incredible is the word, I think, to describe it. Red Bull would show up on a Friday. He wouldn't be happy with the car. They'd make changes overnight, show up on the Saturday. And, I think through the feedback that Max was able to give, Red Bull would be able to turn that car around into something that was capable of performing. And, he's always going to be one of those drivers that extracts the maximum out of the car, pun intended. It's always going to happen. And I think the fact as well, just going to the average positions, and, I've tried not to refer to all of the statistics that have been going through it, but Max Verstappen has the best high average position finishes across Grand Prix this season, which is better than the two McLarens, and just shows the consistency he's had in that second half of the season where their two results have been a bit more up and down. Max Verstappen has done the Fernando Alonso of like 2012, where he's just had to be in that position to keep himself in the picture, and it's just madness, I think. I wrote off any chance of Max Verstappen. I think as far back as like not Silverstone, Singapore. I was saying to Owain on our review of the podcast, just like, so who's going to win it between the two McLaren drivers? Because that was the only ever picture. It's going to be one of the two McLarens, and Max Verstappen, you can't count him out. You can never count him out. And yeah, it's been incredible. It's been impressive. It's been special. And that's Max Verstappen to a T. And I think the sport, if he ever does go away from it, he keeps talking about it, will have a big hole like that needs filling because, you can just never count him out as a competitor. And, it would have been the recovery drive of history if he'd managed to do it, I think. That would have been arguably his best fought championship to overcome the gap he had and stuff like that
Uh,
as well.
Yeah, had he won the world championship, I don't think we have a grade high enough to
No.
give Max.
A plus plus appears on our form options.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, like, and as far as statistical patterns are concerned, do we need to be worried about a Max Verstappen championship in 2026? Because he won Abu Dhabi, and that seems to be the way it goes.
Yeah, you're never gonna write Max out of a world championship, and we've seen that even when he's Red Bull start off with the worst car, he can still come back and almost win it. So if Red Bull even give him a sniff of the world championship next year, the chances are he's probably gonna take it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just got to be in the same room as a chance of winning that title, and he's gonna, put his hands on it firmly and not let go until, there's no grip left whatsoever. But yeah.